I want to say a few words today about undercover players, and these people sometimes slip by our notice on the dating scene because they often come across as very, very authentic and very real, and as wanting a bona fide relationship. And often the outcome with these people is quite the opposite. And we don't sometimes see that early going in because the presentation is so convincing. And so I want to say a few words about undercover players and just to pinpoint a few tips really to highlight some indicators that may become apparent. And undercover players, which are players who are a little bit more covert and not very obvious, often do not present themselves in an effusive manner, but they may be more your boy next door type. And so it's not always a regular pattern that players turn up in the same way and do the same things. And a lot of time can be wasted on a player type scenario, which is undercover. And people can often find that they have wasted months or years on a situation that has been brought about by someone who isn't serious about being in a relationship. And so an undercover player may play the long game and may wait a considerable amount of time until they get what they want. And being played can be quite difficult to spot. But if we have our own values and standards and timelines and integrity, and if we respect ourselves, often those who are not serious about us will not wait an enormous amount of time waiting for something that they could get elsewhere. Or what they may do is place us on the relationship bench whilst going out there and finding what else is available so that they have the best of both worlds. And I think that's called having your cake and eating it. And so what a player will often do is have a lot of options in the background whilst using their charm and a little bit of attention, because they need to give some attention to all of their options, and they keep these options going by giving them the odd text or phone call or visit, whatever it may be, so that they do not have to shut down options because they want to keep as much attention coming their way, and they want to keep people in play over a long period of time so that they can play a number of people. And as I say, it doesn't have to be very obvious attention, but when we use our intuition, we may have a sense that there is a lot going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, particularly if those other people live in different areas and locations, so that it's easier to keep a lot of people in the game when you're not going to bump into them tomorrow, and they're not going to spill the beans as far as this other person is concerned. And so understanding that players sometimes present a very over-the-top and effusive manner, and sometimes they're very down low, almost meek and mild and not in your face, because they don't need to be, because they have all these options that they can keep going through very little attention needed sometimes. And some people only need the attention of a text to keep them interested. And players know this very well. And so it's important to have our antennae up and to be very aware and conscious as to what is or isn't happening in the relationship, as well as what the player says. For instance, that they do not want a long-term relationship as such, but they are happy with a casual scenario where you just hook up every now and again, because that way they are able to enjoy the attention and ego boost of many different people and many different varieties of relationships. Maybe based on booty calls, friends with benefits, genuine friends, and maybe even a proper bona fide committed relationship or marriage, which has many different options on the side that they can dip in and out of on occasion, when and how often they like, because people make themselves available to players so that the players can continue in this behaviour. Because if the people weren't available, it wouldn't be able to be done. And so undercover players can come in all different shapes and forms and can be played a number of people at the same time for long periods of time, and often we are not aware of the hidden lives or hidden scenarios that are going on in the background, because it's covert and undercover and out of our awareness, and almost definitely not shared with us, because they want to keep people in play and they don't want to frighten them off by necessary behaviour that will take people out of the loop. And so I just wanted to highlight some of those points for people to help to keep you safe and aware of the different scenarios and different types of player that we might come across. So I hope that helps, and as always, stay safe and very happy. Bye bye.